Marcus Chen stood in the lobby of Chen Industries at 6:47 p.m. on Christmas Eve, briefcase in hand, when he noticed the small figure pressed against the glass doors. A girl, maybe 7 years old, with a puffy pink coat 2 sizes too big and mittens that didn't match. She was staring at the 15-foot Christmas tree his assistant had decorated last week, the one he'd barely glanced at while signing off on the invoice. Security hadn't locked up yet. The girl slipped inside, her worn sneakers squeaking against the marble floor. "Excuse me, mister." Her voice was small but determined, the kind of voice that had practiced this moment. "Are you the boss here?" Marcus glanced at his watch. His driver was waiting outside, engine running. He had a flight to Aspen in 2 hours, a vacation planned for months, a hotel suite overlooking snow-covered mountains where he could finally stop thinking about empty houses and silent Christmas mornings. "I am. It's late. Where are your parents?" "Just my mom. She's in the car." The girl pointed to an old sedan idling at the curb, exhaust puffing white in the December cold. A woman's silhouette was barely visible through the fogged windows. "I need to ask you something really important." He should have walked away. He should have called security. He should have been in that town car already, heading toward an airport and away from everything that made him remember. But something in her eyes stopped him. They were dark and serious, too serious for a 7-year-old, eyes that had seen things children shouldn't have to see. "Can I borrow your Christmas tree?" she asked, gesturing toward the massive decorated pine dominating the lobby. "Just for tonight. I'll bring it back tomorrow morning, I promise. Before anyone comes to work." Marcus blinked. In 32 years of running a Fortune 500 company, he'd heard countless pitches, impossible requests, desperate pleas. No one had ever asked to borrow his Christmas tree. "Borrow my tree." "Mom's in the hospital tomorrow. Surgery. She said we can't afford a tree this year, but I wanted her to have Christmas, just once, before." The girl's voice cracked, and she swallowed hard, fighting tears with the fierce pride of someone who'd cried too much already. "The doctor said after surgery she'll be too tired for a long time. Maybe months. I want her to see a real Christmas tree. I want her to remember something beautiful." She held out a crumpled envelope, her hand shaking slightly. "I saved $17 from my allowance. I can pay you. I know it's probably not enough for a tree this big, but it's all I have." Marcus stared at the envelope, at this child offering him everything she had for something he'd never once appreciated. The tree was just corporate decoration, ordered from a catalog by someone in procurement, assembled by professionals, meaning absolutely nothing to him or anyone else who walked through these doors. It was background scenery, a checkbox on the holiday office requirements list. He thought of his own daughter, Emma, who died 3 years ago with her mother in the car accident. Emma had loved Christmas trees. She'd insisted on decorating every inch, standing on his shoulders to place the star, her small hands sticky with hot chocolate. The house had been full of light and laughter and wrapping paper chaos. Now it was empty, professionally cleaned, perfectly silent. "Keep your money," he heard himself say, his voice rough. "Help me get this in your car." The girl's eyes went wide. "Really? You mean it?" "I mean it. But we need to move fast." Marcus set down his briefcase and pulled out his phone, texting his driver to wait, then his assistant to cancel the flight. Some decisions you make with your head. Others you make with the part of yourself you thought had stopped working 3 years ago. "I'm Sophie," the girl said, already tugging at the tree's lowest branches. "Sophie Martinez. Thank you so much, Mr. Chen. Marcus Chen." He grabbed the tree's trunk, testing its weight. "This is going to be tricky. Does your mom know you're in here asking strange men for Christmas trees?" Sophie bit her lip. "She thinks I'm in the bathroom at the gas station across the street. She was too tired to come in. I told her I'd be fast." The honesty was disarming. No manipulation, no calculated story, just a child trying to solve an impossible problem with the limited resources she had. They wrestled the tree toward the doors, ornaments jangling, pine needles dropping like green snow across the marble. Marcus's expensive suit jacket caught on branches. His carefully styled hair became a mess of pine sap and tinsel. He hadn't done physical labor in years, hadn't felt his heart race with something other than stress or grief. "My mom's really nice," Sophie said, grunting as she pulled. "She works 2 jobs usually. She makes the best tamales. Before she got sick, she was always singing, even when things were hard." "What happened?" Marcus asked, immediately regretting the question. But Sophie answered simply, without drama. "Cancer. They found it 6 months ago. The surgery tomorrow is supposed to help, but she's scared. I can tell even though she pretends she's not. She keeps hugging me like she's memorizing what it feels like. They reached the doors. Through the glass, Marcus could see the old sedan, the woman inside, the way Sophie's whole world fit in that tired car. His own town car looked obscene suddenly, leather seats and tinted windows and complete isolation from reality. Wait here, Marcus said. I'll get my driver to help. We'll follow you home. Make sure this gets set up properly. You don't have to do that, Sophie said, but hope blazed in her eyes. I want to, Marcus said, and realized he meant it. For the first time in 3 years, he wanted to do something that had nothing to do with profit margins or business strategy or filling empty hours. He wanted to give this child and her mother one perfect Christmas Eve, because someone should have that, because Emma would have wanted him to, because sometimes you save yourself by saving someone else first. Sophie threw her arms around his waist, quick and fierce. Thank you. Thank you so much. Marcus stood frozen, then slowly placed a hand on her head, feeling something crack open in his chest, something that had been frozen solid starting to thaw. Let's get your mom her Christmas tree. 20 minutes later, Marcus was wedging a 15-foot corporate Christmas tree through the doorway of a small apartment, while Sophie directed operations with the seriousness of a military general, and her mother, pale and thin, protested weakly from the worn couch. Mr. Chen, this is too much, Anna Martina said, tears streaming down her face. Sophie, you can't just take someone's tree. This man probably has plans. It's Christmas Eve. I asked to borrow it, Sophie corrected solemnly, already unwrapping ornaments that Marcus's driver had helped pack from the office. He said yes. That's not taking. Marcus adjusted the tree stand, his $5,000 suit now covered in pine sap and dust from Anna's apartment floor. His driver had left 30 minutes ago with instructions to tell the pilot the Aspen trip was cancelled. Marcus hadn't offered explanation beyond that. He didn't have one that made logical sense. The plans I had can wait, Marcus said, stepping back to eye the tree's position. Sophie made a convincing case. She's got a future in negotiations. Anna laughed through her tears, then winced, hand going to her side. Sophie was at her mother's side instantly, adjusting pillows, pulling a blanket higher, movements practiced and automatic. Marcus recognized the gestures of a child who'd become a caretaker too young. Mom, don't move too much. Doctor said rest. Sophie's voice carried an authority no 7-year-old should need. I'm okay, baby. Just surprised. Anna looked at Marcus with exhausted gratitude. I don't know how to thank you. Sophie's been so worried about Christmas. I kept telling her we'd celebrate after I got better, but she wanted. She wanted you to have it now, Marcus finished quietly. She wanted you to have something beautiful to remember. He found himself hanging ornaments, silver and gold balls catching the apartment's dim light. The decorations looked absurdly expensive against the peeling wallpaper and second-hand furniture, but somehow right. Sophie dragged over a stepstool. I can reach the middle branches. Mr. Chen, you do the top because you're tall. They worked in comfortable silence, Anna watching from the couch, and Marcus felt something shift inside him. The apartment was tiny, maybe a quarter the size of his master bedroom. The furniture had seen better decades. The heater clanked and struggled. But there was warmth here that had nothing to do with temperature. Photos covered every surface. Sophie as a baby, Sophie's first day of school, Sophie and Anna laughing at a beach somewhere, their joy captured in cheap frames that held more value than anything in his penthouse. Tell me about your family, Mr. Chen, Anna said softly. Do you have children? Marcus's hand stilled on an ornament. He hadn't talked about Emma to anyone in 3 years. His therapist, yes. His lawyer during the estate settlement. But not like this. Not real conversation. I had a daughter, he said, surprised by how steady his voice was. Emma. She was 8 when she died. Car accident, 3 years ago. My wife too. The apartment went quiet except for the heater's clank. Sophie stopped arranging ornaments, looking at him with those two serious eyes. I'm sorry, Anna whispered. It's why I haven't celebrated Christmas since, Marcus continued, hanging another ornament, needing to move, needing to do something with his hands. Emma loved Christmas trees. She'd make me drive to 3 different lots until we found the perfect one. Never the perfectly shaped ones. She always picked the trees that were a little crooked, a little imperfect. Said they needed homes too. Sophie climbed down from her stepstool and walked over to him. She didn't say anything, Just slip her small hand into his, and Marcus felt his throat tighten. This tree needed a home tonight, Sophie said simply. Maybe it found the right one. Marcus squeezed her hand gently, unable to speak for a moment. When he finally looked up, Anna was crying again, but smiling too. Would you stay for dinner? Anna asked. It's nothing fancy. Just soup I made yesterday. But you gave us Christmas. The least we can do is share a meal. Marcus should have said no. Should have made polite excuses and returned to his empty house. His empty traditions of pretending December 24th was just another day. Instead, he found himself saying yes, found himself sitting at their tiny kitchen table while Sophie set out mismatched bowls and Anna ladled soup with shaking hands. The soup was simple, chicken and vegetables, but it tasted like something Marcus had forgotten existed. They talked about Sophie's school, her favorite subjects, her hope to be a veterinarian someday. Anna told stories about Sophie's fearlessness, how she'd stood up to bullies twice her size, how she'd started a neighborhood pet-sitting business at 6 years old. She's remarkable, Marcus said, watching Sophie demonstrate her impression of Mrs. Henderson's cat. She's everything, Anna said quietly, her eyes on her daughter. The surgery tomorrow, it's risky. But I have to try. I have to be here to see her grow up. See who she becomes. You will be, Marcus said with certainty he couldn't explain. You're both fighters. I can tell. After dinner, Sophie showed him her room, proudly displaying drawings she'd made, books she loved, a science project about butterflies. Marcus sat on her small bed and listened to her explain metamorphosis with passionate detail, and somewhere in that explanation, he realized he was smiling. Really smiling. Not the polite business smile or the practiced social smile, but the real thing. When he finally left at 9 p.m., Sophie hugged him at the door. Will you visit Mom in the hospital tomorrow? She gets scared alone. Marcus looked at Anna, who was trying to protest, trying to tell Sophie that Mr. Chen had his own life, his own family, his own Christmas plans. But Marcus was already nodding. I'll be there, he said. What time is the surgery? 7 a.m., Anna whispered. I'll bring coffee. The good kind. Marcus surprised himself by meaning it absolutely. He wrote down his personal cell number, pressed it into Anna's hand. Call me if you need anything. Tonight, tomorrow, anytime. Walking to his car, Marcus turned back to see Sophie and Anna in the window, the Christmas tree blazing behind them, and felt something crack open wider in his chest. The frozen thing was melting fast now, and it hurt, but it was the kind of hurt that meant healing. He drove home thinking about Emma, but for the first time, the memories didn't drown him. Instead, they felt like permission. Permission to live again. Permission to care again. Permission to let two strangers with a borrowed Christmas tree remind him what mattered. The girl who'd begged to borrow a tree had given him something he couldn't buy, a reason to show up tomorrow, and the day after that, and every day that followed.